Oh, well, you hear that sound? That can only mean one thing. It's the Stubborn German Podcast with special live entertainment. Oh, yeah. I'm Kevin Ostie coming to you from the Stubborn German Brewing Company here in beautiful Waterloo, Illinois. Joined, as always, by the esteemed proprietor of the Stubborn German Brewing Company, Mr. Chris Ron.
Why, hello there.
And our producer, Mr. Jared Chasson.
Hello.
And our very special guest, who is riffing on the tuba at this point.
Right. How many podcasts have a tuba player?
A live one.
Live in studio.
Very few. So we'd like to introduce our resident tuba player, Mr. Zac Hamilton. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Chris is so excited.
I am. I haven't stopped smiling since I handed him the tuba.
He's giggling. So, Zach, thank you so much for joining us here on the Stubborn German Podcast. And there's a lot going on here because this is very contextual. It's not like we just called Zach up to say, bring a tuba. You were going to be in this area anyway.
Yeah, so every Tuesday night in the summer, starting Tuesday after Memorial Day, all the way until the Tuesday before Labor Day, the Waterloo Municipal Band plays at 8 o'clock at night, play for an hour at the bandstand right here in downtown Waterloo. And I'm a member of the band and have been for about a decade now.
Nice. And,
awesome.
And the whole setting is just so cool because the town square, if you've never been to Waterloo, you need to come check this out. The town square is wonderful.
We need to paint that picture for sure. So Waterloo is the county seat of Monroe County here, and so obviously we have the courthouse. The courthouse building is what, mid 1800s it was built, I would guess.
Sure.
So you get this, it's almost a park like type of a thing. And so basically we have the Courthouse Square. So obviously there's 4 roads on each side. It's a square. Courthouse is right in the middle. They kept the old part of the courthouse, so it's definitely the side that you see from our patio at Stubborn German is the old part of the courthouse. And then after many years they've added on, of course, but that's on the other side. So the newer stuff, it looks nice, but doesn't have that old charm. And
that's pretty cool because there are other small communities like this that just leveled the old courthouse and built something that looks like it's cinder block, but they kept the original, so that's neat.
Exactly. Yeah. It's very cool. And I don't know if I'm sure you guys have probably been to Springfield, Illinois, and done the whole Abraham Lincoln home and all that. And that whole neighborhood, they've revitalized it. Or not, I wouldn't say revitalized it. They brought it back to time period correct.
They restored it.
They restored it. Yeah, exactly. As good word, Kevin. Like you know something about restoring
it's
things.
One of the few I know.
So I don't know. We go there. There's a little brewery there in Springfield called Obed and Isaac's, and we try to park far away so that we can like walk up to it. And there's just this kind of like feeling of like peace and calm as you walk up. And you can see Lincoln's house over in the distance. You're walking by, Lincoln's neighbors' houses and stuff. It's just really cool to be walking in that area where, such, great people walked, about 150 years before. And I get the same feeling when I look out. Well, not when it's really crowded out here in Waterloo, but on, a Sunday afternoon when things are kind of calming down a little bit. Kind of look across the street, you get these big, beautiful trees in the courthouse lawn, and the old building is still there, just like it always has been. And
sure,
it's just a really cool setting. It's basically a park in the middle of town, but not actually a park.
Well, it kind of is. It's very picturesque, and the image reminds me of the who is it? The Surratt painting, the Pointillist,
right?
Who did the Day in the Park? It's a very famous painting. It's at the Chicago Museum of Art, the Art Institute, and this looks just like it. You've got, oftentimes there's events where there's people out there and they're enjoying the day,
right?
But there's also the bandstand structure.
Yeah, so the bandstand is on, I guess that would be the southwest corner of the bandstand of the Courthouse Square, and it's how many members are in the band, Zach?
I'd say at any given time there's 45 to 50 people that are in the band while we're playing, but there's members that have, I bet, there's probably membership of probably 75 or better.
Gotcha. Well, where I was getting at with that is about how big this bandstand is. So it'll hold. I mean, because you guys packed that thing. I mean, there's no extra room, right?
Ironically, the most we've had on there was the opening night of this season.
Really?
And there was 62 of us up there.
Wow. Everybody itching to get back, huh?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Because we didn't play it all last year. We did a couple events. We played at Jabot kind of near the end of last summer, but we were all spread out and people had to stay in their cars in every other parking space and everything like that.
Yeah.
But we didn't get to play at all. And so, plus we have, typically you have to be I think either an 8th grade or a freshman in high school in order to be in the band.
Okay.
So the 8th grade class had a big group that are all going to be freshmen in the band this year. So we have a lot of new, younger players in the band, which makes it really nice just because you can have anywhere from a 14-year-old to a 75 or 80-year-old person in the band because it's truly a community band.
Sitting right next to each other playing the same song.
100%.
That's so cool.
There's, I play tuba, so I sit in the back row with the basses, and in our row, there is a grandma with her granddaughter both playing bass clarinet. Wow. So there's your span of generations in a community band. It makes it really neat. Yeah.
So this is technically the Waterloo Municipal Band.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what I find really interesting is that this is every Tuesday, right?
Every Tuesday for the last how many years, Zach?
I believe this is the 81st season or 82nd season, maybe.
Oh, wow.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Man, and it goes from, while the weather is nice. Do we know the calendar dates?
I mean, it's Memorial Day to Labor Day, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Memorial Day to Labor Day, every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday. Yep.
And you mentioned the size of the band. This is a free event?
Free event, and what really makes it unique is that the Waterloo High School band parents are kind of the organizers of the sponsors for every Tuesday night. So every Tuesday night, a local community group or business will actually sponsor that night. And part of the sponsorship is they'll bring free ice cream and free water for everybody sitting in the crowd. And so it makes it really... it's advantageous to come up here just because you get to see
free ice cream.
Well, free
exactly.
Who doesn't like free ice cream? The only thing that'd be better than free ice cream would be free beer. But
right,
Chris hasn't sponsored one yet.
Yeah,
but he's getting there.
I don't blame him.
One of these days.
Yeah, I don't blame him. But yeah, I think the great thing about what the band does is it really gives everybody something to do on a Tuesday night. Starts at 8:00, so the sun's starting to set. It's get a lot cooler. But it brings people down into this community area, as you were talking about earlier, this kind of the center of the community, and all the changes that have happened here in this downtown square area, I guess if that's what you would call it, has been phenomenal. I think what Chris has done here was one of the early, from my perspective as a member of the community, what he did here kind of started that revitalization, in my opinion, of the downtown area.
Hear that? You're an innovator.
People say that, and that's so nice. But again, as I said on another podcast, I just wanted to make beer.
Well, yeah, the right beer at the right time.
Right.
Now, the municipal band, it's basically a brass band, right?
It's a full wind ensemble. It's a full wind ensemble. Okay. So a wind ensemble. In the adverse would be a orchestra, and an orchestra would have string instruments in it, and so this would be considered a wind ensemble.
Gotcha. So the repertoire, or the type of music that we're going to hear throughout the season, consists of what's the range?
The range would be anything from marches to ballads to show tunes to we've had some commemorative pieces that band directors have written for the band based on different anniversary dates. So the band has commissioned a composer to write a piece of music for the band.
Really? That's crazy.
Yeah, it's like Mr. Holland's Opus.
Yeah, it's an amazing organization. And it's all part of the community. It's free. We actually get paid to be part of this organization. Wow. I believe the city of Waterloo has a small portion of some tax that goes to keeping the band alive, and the fee we get every night is nominal, but it's just the idea that the city has a vested interest in it, and they want to have people come and be part of the band, so you get a stipend. And the great thing is the band practices usually from the second Tuesday in January up until I think the first Tuesday in December. And then at that last practice, the Tuesday in December, we get paid. So it's a great little, couple $100 right before Christmas time for a lot of people, and it's always neat because I forget the number. There's probably 40 something different events that we have throughout the year, including practices and the live performances. That, if you're somebody that shows up to every single one, you get an attendance prize as well. So you get a little extra stipend, nice. And it's always that last Tuesday in December. So everybody gets a little extra money before Christmas. Yeah. My wife doesn't know about that, so
I'll edit that out.
She does now.
Yeah, she doesn't listen to this. Don't worry. You're safe.
Does anybody yet? Yeah. So. What I'm intrigued with now is the organization itself. So it's musicians, but there's a lot of, somebody's got to be running the show.
Yeah, so we're fortunate that we have two band directors, Matt Fisher and Lois. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank on Lois's last name. But they actually organize the music. They run the practices. But the band has a board of directors. They have a president, they have a secretary, vice president, they have a treasurer, everything like that. That's like a regular not-for-profit organization. So they have leadership in place to make decisions and decide whether they're going to play certain nights or not. So it's like any other kind of small group that has leadership. It's all made up of members of the band.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Very cool.
What are some of the other topics that the board would discuss outside of like play dates and
play dates? They talk about uniforms, like we've been wearing these uniforms for a long time. They talk about that. They talk about, should we be paying more money? How many people do we have in the band? They decide if we need a new piece of equipment. The band, particularly percussion equipment, has to be replaced somewhat, and so they dictate on what we spend the money on that the city provides to us.
So everybody that plays a trumpet or a tuba, like you play your own instrument, or but percussion is usually property of the band, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So the band would own the majority of the percussion equipment. And
you just got to show up with your sticks, right?
Yeah, pretty much. You show up with
Drummers
your sticks.
Are the worst.
Easy, aren't they?
Yeah. But yeah, so typically
Chris plays the drums. By the way,
so does Jared.
Both you guys? Wow.
I think that's why we both agreed to that.
You know what they call these two guys that hang out with musicians? Drummers.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh boy.
Sorry.
Yeah,
it's all right. I play the radio. Now, you mentioned you got a pretty good stock and a pretty good age group of musicians. So where do you recruit from? Where do the new people come from?
Yeah, it's really interesting too because it usually tends to be a somebody knows somebody knows somebody, and obviously we get a good feed from the high school, right, for the younger kids. But we have people that move into the community. When it's a Waterloo Municipal Band, there is a good percentage of the band that doesn't live in the Waterloo area. There's people from Smithton, Valmeyer, really? Columbia. There was a guy that used to drive from Belleville to come and play with the band because Millstadt used to have a community band as well, but I think they kind of I wouldn't say they fell apart, but they no longer perform. And so a lot of those folks that were playing in the Millstadt band then started coming to the Waterloo band. So it's made up of a big group of folks from Monroe County. It would probably be more appropriate to say the Monroe County Municipal Band instead of the Waterloo Municipal Band, although, obviously Waterloo's the home. And like the band director, Matt Fisher, he is the junior high band teacher in Redbud.
Okay.
And
nice.
Matt was he was a member of the band. And then we had the band director stepped away, and then Matt stepped in as one of the fill-ins. So they split time between Matt and Lois.
Gotcha. Yeah. Because I would assume that for these types of instruments, there's not a whole lot of opportunities to perform in front of a big crowd with a whole ensemble like this.
Yeah, it's really rare to see this. At least, my background, I played the tuba in junior high and high school, and I actually went to the University of Missouri in Columbia on a music scholarship to play the tuba.
Nice.
Thought I was going to be a music education major, and I was my freshman year there. And I realized one of the things that I liked to do the most was just playing my horn, and I knew I wasn't going to grow up to be a music teacher, so and I actually stopped playing my horn for almost 20 years.
Wow.
And my wife was working at the Falls in Columbia, Illinois, and one of the owners of the Falls was one of the founding members of another local group called the Bud Light Brigade. And he was friends with a tuba player in the Bud Light Brigade, and so we made that connection, and Bill Rayheis is the guy that got me started playing the tuba again after almost 20 years. And then I started with the Bud Light Brigade, and then I moved into the Waterloo Municipal Band, and it started on a Tuesday night on Porta Westfalica. Okay. So the Porta Westfalica parade is, the Bud Light Brigade participates in that, but that's on a Tuesday night. And so the Municipal Band is playing on Tuesday night, and a couple of the tuba players in the Bud Light Brigade were also members of the Municipal Band, and they said, hey, come up here and play with us. And I've been playing with that band ever since.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. And so, my wife, she makes fun of me all the time, and she thought it was great the first 4 or 5 years that we were doing this. And now she's like, oh, you're playing again? Or,
oh, it's Tuesday.
It's Tuesday. Another I think she likes the Tuesdays a little better because there's not quite as much drinking on Tuesday nights, right. Whereas the Bud Light Brigade, we don't get paid to do that, and we typically do it on weekends at parades and homecomings and things like that, and we get paid in beer. And
right.
I make sure I get paid well.
Exactly. Right.
Well, you're a tuba player. I mean, you should.
They don't call it the Bud Light Brigade for nothing.
Exactly.
It'll plenty of Bud Light.
Yeah. Right.
That's awesome.
So how did you meet Chris? How did you guys get connected?
So, I had been a patron of the facility here for probably since he opened, and I met Chris through his son, who played on my baseball team this past year.
Cool.
Yeah,
nice.
Evan is a great kid, and I always tell people I like coaching because I like to help kids establish themselves and develop and become great humans. And I don't have to do a lot of work with Evan because the proverb that the acorn doesn't fall from the tree is pretty true. Chris and Tammy are...
Tammy's a heck of a parent.
You should exactly. You should follow me home and let's knock out some dishes with him one day.
And it doesn't hurt. Evan brings 4 packs of beer to all the games.
Every game, exactly.
Yeah, 100%.
Here you go, Coach.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's been. I consider it. It's great when you can make friends with parents of your kids' friends.
Sure.
I think that's
absolutely.
That's the one thing that my wife and I have enjoyed about being in this community. We've been here 15 years. It'll be 15 years in September. We've been in the Waterloo area. And, the friends we've made have been because of our kids being involved in different things, dance or sports, or just my wife and I, we were, room parents, and we'd throw the Halloween party or the Valentine party, and you get to know the other parents. And it just, when they say it takes a community or a village to raise a family, we found a great spot here in Waterloo. And the Rons, thankfully are part of that for our family.
Cool.
Gosh.
Any more musicians in your family?
My daughter actually, she tried it in 5th grade. So they start music in the 5th grade here in the Waterloo community. And my daughter started with trumpet, which I started with trumpet. And then the first opportunity she had, I think halfway through the semester, she switched to tuba. And she didn't last very long. And then, unfortunately, my son Brady, he was in 5th grade during the COVID year, and so he showed interest early on about playing an instrument. He wanted to play a non-brass instrument, which was difficult for me to handle, but it was up to him, and he wanted to play saxophone. So we were going to embrace that as much as we could, but we typically don't like woodwind instruments in our house. At least I don't.
Weird reed
thing. Weird reed thing.
You don't need that.
I don't get it.
Squeaks like a duck call sometimes. It just, So, but because of the COVID year, I think that ship sailed for him. We missed that opportunity for him. So I get to hold it all down for my family, just me.
Well, unless he comes back around and there's private lessons or something with something else. Who knows?
Yeah, could
you never know.
You never know. I had actually hoped that he would have been a drummer. We had a drum set in our basement for a long time, and he showed some interest in that. But
they never want to play what you have sitting around, do they?
No.
I want this.
Yeah.
We have all these band instruments, and my youngest son, Drew, He's like, I want to play the bass guitar. Like, we have a regular guitar, we have a drum set, we've got all this stuff. I want to play the bass. The one thing we don't have is a bass guitar. We even have an accordion. He wants to play the bass guitar. Like, just take 2 strings off of your regular guitar and you got a bass. Right. How's that?
It's about expression and creativity, man.
Yeah,
you can't jam that down somebody's throat. Jeez.
Bass players are cool, though. So
bass players
let
are
them run
cool.
with it.
Yeah,
bass players are cool. And rock
We'll
bands.
find him a cheap bass.
if he keeps asking about it, we'll see.
Well, I mean, you're a wind bass player, essentially.
Yeah, I'm a wind bass player,
yeah.
but we don't get the same kind of. We don't have the same kind of groupies that
Right.
a bass player for a rock and roll band might have.
Tuba groupies?
I think,
not many tuba groupies out there.
That's never my tube of groupies.
Totally.
So what's it like to play here as far as the crowd reception and the etiquette and, what, do people dig it? I mean, how's it go?
Yeah, it's been pretty amazing, especially this season. Last summer we didn't play, and I think just in general, more people are out and about this summer.
Oh, yeah.
And when you look out in the crowd and you used to be able to see patches of grass on the lawn in front of the courthouse, and now it's very sparse grass, right? It's more people, and really, it's really awesome to see that many people out there, and particularly where we sit in the bandstand. We kind of sit in what would be, I guess, the northeast corner of the bandstand, so we can't really see people behind us, but we can look directly to the north, and that lawn is full. And what's, I think, the most encouraging thing as part of the band, and if I had a business down in the downtown area, that people stay around afterwards, right? There's people that will stay in the lawn. There's people that probably start piling up in the next 10 minutes out there with their lawn chairs and their blankets, and they're coming to have a beer at Stubborn German, or they're grabbing some food from Shorty's, or they're going to other places in the area and making a night out of it on a what would be a wholesome event, right? Just coming to listen to a live band play some music. We don't play anything terribly complicated. I think the majority of our music is high school level, entry level stuff. So a bunch of seasoned musicians can play this music fairly well, and so it comes across like we're these
really well done.
Like it's really well done. And so for the skill level of a lot of the patrons in the band, the music's fantastic for us because a lot of us have day jobs and we don't have time to practice, and there's a lot of times where I don't get the opportunity to go to the practices that we have during the winter because of other activities with our families and things like that, and then we get to performance season, and it's hard to miss those, right? Because you want to be there for the whole event side of it. And a lot of times there's music that we're pulling up that I haven't seen it before, and you can just kind of wing it, and but again, because we're not playing terribly complicated stuff, and there's usually multiple players in each section. So if somebody, we always like to say, the person that sits to my right, Doug Tuttle, he says, I'll play the notes that you don't.
There you go. It's nice that it covers you that way.
Yeah, that's
Still,
good.
you got to be pretty good. I asked you earlier before the show even started, so what's the theme tonight? What music are you guys playing? And you kind of had to look it up and remember what you're playing. I'm like,
we'll find out in a minute. Yeah.
He must be pretty good if he can just get up there and play anything.
Yeah, I think that was the thing I realized that when I went to Mizzou my freshman year, that the only thing I was really good at was playing.
Yeah.
That was it, and probably the thing I enjoyed the most. And for all the college music folks out there, they were just I don't know, I'm a different person than at their level of expertise that they were chasing. I was first time away from home. I'm 18 years old. I wanted to be out doing what college kids would do, and the music kids that I were around, they're practicing on Friday nights and things like that. That wasn't my skill set, and I was doing other things. So.
Well, when I grew up, my older sister was a pianist from the time she was 7 years old, and all through junior high and high school, she'd be up at 4:35 in the morning. She'd get 2-3 hours in before school, and come home after school, do 2-3 hours after school, and then do homework. And when she got to college, she went to Illinois State for her undergrad, and that's what it was. You get out of class, you go into the, obviously when you're a pianist, you don't have a piano in your dorm. So you go to the practice labs, and you're there, and that's all and 4 years later, I ended up going to the same school with a vastly different approach. But it takes a tremendous amount of discipline, and if you want to be good, and that's like you're saying, that's the mentality. It's interesting to talk to somebody who's more of and not insulting in any way, but more of a casual musician. It seems like you just really enjoy doing it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that was my passion. I liked playing music. I was talented enough that I didn't have to practice a lot, and was able to get a scholarship to go to a really big university, and they paid my way for me to be a music educator. But when I got there, I realized that it wasn't the life I wanted to live, because it required more book type education and learning how to teach people music, and I realized the only thing I like to do was play.
Sure.
I like to play.
Now, did you do all of the music theory classes and all the rest of it too?
Well, I was scheduled for them, and that's where the trouble came in. I tell people a lot of time, I spent my first freshman year at the University of Missouri-Columbia, and by the second semester, after music theory and music literature and sight singing and all these things that, I get at major universities, it's the weed out classes, right? I definitely I was a weed out. Yeah, I was a weed out for sure, so... but I enjoyed it. I playing in the marching band at Mizzou. There was 12 tubas, and I had come from a high school in St. Louis where it wasn't until my senior year in high school we had 2 tubas.
Wow!
And went from a band that had, in high school that we had 45 members to playing in a marching band in college that had 300 members.
Yeah, that's
cool.
That's
really awesome.
Must have been really something.
It's amazing. I tell people, when I talk to people I know that are musicians that are going away to college, and they're like, first thing I ask them, are you going to play in the band? No, I don't think so. And I'm like, listen, don't miss the opportunity to play in a marching band in college, especially if you did it in high school, because they can pick it up. But it's some of the most fun I've ever had in my life is playing in that marching band on football game days in Mizzou. This is back in the 90s, and it was an event then, and it's still an event now, and the band is it's as fun as it gets.
Well, awesome. That's just a powerhouse, man, a 300-piece. 12 tubas.
Yeah, right?
12
tubas?
Yeah.
12 tubas.
That's insane.
Yeah, 12
That's so
tubas.
Cool.
Yeah.
Powerful enough to turn a powerful band.
What were you going to say there?
That's a line from the Blues Brothers. You can look it up.
Right.
Well, that's really cool. So, as Jared was saying, you weren't nervously clutching your sheet music in anticipation for tonight. What actually is on the music stand tonight? Do you remember what?
Yeah, some show tunes tonight. I know we're playing The Sound of Music, Pirates of the Caribbean. We always start with the Star Spangled Banner. We are playing. I don't know. I would have to look up the list.
Looking forward to The Hills Are Alive with the Sound of Tubas.
Yes. Well, it's unfortunate. I think it was 2 weeks ago we played Tiptoe Through the Tulips with the tubas.
Oh, nice. Wow.
Yeah, and there was a 12-bar solo for just the tubas.
Wow. Tuba solo.
Yeah, tuba solo.
How many tubas are in the Muny Band here?
On any given night, we could have anywhere from 1 to 5.
Okay.
Yeah, 1 to 5. Yeah, and it also depends. One of the tuba players, she's a graduating senior who's going to go away to the University of Minnesota here in a few weeks. So
nice.
She'll be leaving before the season's over.
Gotcha.
Well, this is all very cool. It's a great perspective. I appreciate you sharing it with us. If somebody's going to pick up a tuba, what do you recommend? Are we talking about exercises? I mean, you got to move a lot of wind.
Yeah, it definitely
start blowing.
Yeah,
Hey,
Well, I think the most unique thing about playing a brass instrument is just learning that proper breathing technique and breathing from the diaphragm, not from the lungs. So you take that deep breath into your stomach where you can hold it and still talk. That's where you can really get a lot more air. And the tuba does require a lot more air than most, So I would never recommend anybody start with the tuba straight away. It's usually like with most things, you need to start trumpet and then maybe baritone and then go to tuba. The thing about the tuba is it's definitely it's the largest instrument in the band from the brass instrument perspective, and has the lowest tone capabilities. but we don't get the greatest parts in the band. You know?
Well, you're the backbone.
Yeah, we're the backbone. Yeah. We say all the time that you can't build a house without a great foundation.
For sure.
And we are the foundation of the band.
Yeah.
But that means we don't get the greatest parts.
Yeah, but there's no funk without bass.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. Now that's the bass guitar bass that gets the great funky stuff. A lot of times ours is not that enjoyable, but
it's relative.
Certain we're playing Proud we are actually going to play Proud Mary tonight, the song by Tina Turner.
Sure.
And that's got a good bass line part in it tonight.
Absolutely.
So that one's really good. But I think if I could go back, I would probably still play baritone.
Okay.
Because
Step it up a little bit.
they get a lot of the nice counter melodies. Typically, the trumpets or the flutes or clarinets get to carry the melody of most songs, or saxophones. But then in some of the older music, the marches and things like that, the trombones and the baritones have an amazing counter melody to what the actual melody of the song is. And so they get some of the cool parts. Whereas we're just, everybody always makes fun. It's like, oh, it's the Papa guys.
Look, another
There's certainly some of that.
Yeah.
So with telling that little anecdote, is there a favorite piece that you just love to do that gets played here?
We get to play the beer barrel polka, and that's usually a musician's choice.
Yes.
The downfall is the municipal band's version is not as good for the tubas as the Light Brigade plays a version of the beer barrel polka, where the tubas will actually, we have about a 12-measure solo of the melody of the beer barrel polka. So that's probably my favorite song to play.
Nice.
With this band, we actually play a song that was written as a tribute after the Columbine scenario in Colorado. And the reason I like it the most is, because we're the foundation of the band, we get to play a lot of heavy chords and things like that. And that particular song that we play, for Columbine, I forget what the exact name of it is, but it was written after the Columbine tragedy, has some of the greatest chords in it, and this band plays it so well because there's a lot of dynamic changes, and the chording in there is amazing. I mean, not very often when I play music other than the Star Spangled Banner and this song do I get chills when I'm actually playing.
Nice.
Yeah. Every time I play the Star Spangled Banner, I get a little, get a little goosebumpy. Has been for ever since we've been playing the Star Spangled Banner. Yeah, so tonight, that first song we play, I get a little goosebumps.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's really great.
Kick it off with some goosebumps. So you start every song with Star Spangled Banner, and every song ends
with the Stars and Stripes Forever.
Stars and Stripes Forever. Yeah. And it's been that way since the band started.
Since the band started. Now we didn't always play the Star Spangled Banner. We didn't.
Okay.
That started about 5 years ago. We started playing the Star Spangled Banner.
Seems like a natural.
Right. So we start with that, and then we end with Stars and Stripes Forever. Just a great classic John Philip Sousa tune.
Yep.
So when you're not playing the tuba or this type of music, what's on your playlist? What do you like listening to otherwise?
I can run the gamut. I like everything from country. If I'm going to be on a deserted island, I'm taking classic rock and roll with me.
There you go.
Taking Zeppelin, Rush.
There you go.
Boston. Pretty much anything that Casey plays, other than I can't really get into some of that Sunday morning stuff that John Hewlett does. Those kind of deep tracks, but Zeppelin and Rush are probably my two favorites if I could only have two.
Well, I'm a big Rush fan also.
Yeah.
So how would your average Joe, maybe bar owner, former drummer, decide, he wants to join the Waterloo Municipal Band? How would he go about doing that?
It's actually a fairly simple process. We just put him in touch with either Matt or Lois and say, hey, I want to come play with the band. And I think if there's room, they give him a shirt and he shows up.
There you go.
It's actually a pretty simple process.
I'll have to practice my bassoon. Is that a musical instrument?
Yeah, the bassoon. But that's one of those reed.
It's a reed one.
Yeah, we don't want.
We like brass, and we like brass and percussion.
So the first instrument that I ever played was actually that tuba that you just got done playing.
Wow.
So that came. That's Harry Wolf's tuba.
It's a special tuba.
Yeah. When he was still alive, I messaged him because I had this weird feeling that he may have some cool old German instrument type stuff or some old Waterloo German band memorabilia that maybe he just has stashed away. maybe should see the light of day. You know, would look good in a certain German brewery.
Yeah, about that.
So I reach out to him, and he's like, this went on for a few weeks, I remember, and I think we finally got back to him, and he calls one Sunday afternoon. He goes, "Okay, come and get it." I'm like, "Oh, what? What am I? I had no idea what he even had." Well, I got a bunch of stuff out in the yard for him.
Yard.
Yeah.
Come and get it now.
Dug it all, he dug it all out. And I remember we were on our way somewhere, and I was trying to say, like, well, could I get it, tomorrow or maybe, later tonight or something? And he's like, "Well, I have to put it all away."
Wow.
Well, no, hold on.
I'm on my way.
I'll be right there. So the kids and Tammy and I go get in the car. We go up there and have no clue what we're walking into. And he has that drum that's up there that we're displaying, and then that tuba. And he says, "Now that tuba, don't drop that one. It came from Germany from the 20s, and it survived a bomb blast in one of the world wars. And basically, the building that they found it in, half of the building was completely destroyed, and this was sitting in the other half.
Wow!
And it was in. He said it was. I don't know if it was in Porta Westfalica, which is our sister city in Germany, or if it spent some time there, was built there possibly. It had some tie into Porta Westfalica, and then also had this bomb blast story from one of the world wars. So very cool.
Man. That's
so
amazing.
It's still his son's, and I told him, like, whenever, if and when you need this back, you let me know. And no, it looks good up there. You leave it. So
yeah, it's not just a yard ornament.
So it was cool to hear it actually be played, because every time I get up there to dust it or get a Christmas tree out or something, I have to blow in it a little bit and see what happens, and I'm still not good at it.
Well, it sounds great when Zach blows it.
I know it is beautiful. The first time he did it, I was like, wow, this thing does work.
No, it sounded good.
It's a really nice instrument. I was, I commented earlier that for an instrument that's probably 100 years, somewhere 100 years old, it sounds amazing, and it's really light. This is actually called a helican.
A helican.
A helican style tuba.
Okay.
And it's the so like the modern day sousaphone that I would carry in the marching band with the Bud Light Brigade. Is just an upgraded version of the helican, which is this style tuba right here. And these were designed simply for small bands, right?
Really?
For small bands, because it's actually really light. I don't know, just by guessing, this probably weighs 15 to 20 pounds, whereas the sousaphone, the all metal sousaphone that I carry with the Bud Light Brigade probably weighs close to 40 pounds.
Wow.
But it also has this has probably got about a 18-inch diameter bell on it, whereas the one that I carry in the Brigade
thing's massive, right?
it's probably got a 30-inch diameter bell on it. It's it's made for loud sound, where this is actually made for small breweries just like yours, so you could have a small band in here, and you could have a tuba, and it wouldn't be overbearing. Typically the sousaphone is made for larger environments.
You're hired.
How much beer does it take to have you just stand in the brewery and just play that thing all night?
There you go. Well, bring your friends.
Remember, I told you I get paid in beer from the Bud Light Brigade.
Right. Well,
I get paid well.
Well, you got some good beer here. So.
Yeah, much better. No offense to our sponsor with the Bud Light Brigade, but
heck no.
Not at all.
I definitely enjoy the beers here at the Stubborn German.
For sure. And I love the fact that the Bud Light Brigade exists, and that
I do too.
They take
That's
care
so
of it.
cool.
Yeah.
And did we talk about that at one point? Did you say that? Because I think I asked, were there other Bud Light Brigades out there?
Yeah. So there is technically none that I know of. The Bud Light Brigade started in 1985 by Dennis Knobloch and Bill Rayheis and Joe Quevero and a few other members that I names are beyond me, but. And they just started with a bunch of guys that wanted to play, same kind of thing. They don't have a home to play in, and they wanted somewhere to play. And since 1985, they have been marching on the streets mainly in the Monroe County area, Waterloo, Columbia, Valmeyer, New Athens. They get around. But I don't think it was until 86 or so where they actually got sponsored by Bud Light.
They were just the Brigade.
Yeah, they were just the Brigade.
The Brigade.
And we've been the Bud Light Brigade since 1985, and it's a great, we get asked every once in a while by the brewery to come and do some different events. every once in a while. We got to do a Salute to the Heroes parade a couple years ago in downtown St. Louis, which was an amazing event. It was just basically our band and the Clydesdales and a few other folks. We just marched on, I believe we marched down Washington Street and just played, celebratory music for the armed forces.
I bet that was awesome.
Yeah, it's really
so
amazing.
Cool. Well, these are great stories. But I think we got you got a show to do here.
Yeah, we got a show to do in a little while.
We're recording literally just a few minutes before Zach has to run over and play. So,
right. So if I can make one more request as we kind of wrap this up, is it okay if you blow us out?
Yeah, you bet. Let me play some.
All right, here we go.
Awesome. Yeah, watch your headphones there. Don't get tripped up on those.
About to get blown out.
All right. While he suits up with his what was it? How do you pronounce it?
Helican?
Pelican. Yeah, it's like an angry pelican.
Helican.
He gets his Helican mounted. We'll do our outro, and we'll just let him blow us out. So we appreciate you listening to the Stubborn German podcast. If you like this kind of stuff or tuba music, feel free to hit that subscribe button, and you'll get a new episode in your mailbox as soon as you can. And like we do on every episode, we're going to say Prost with a toast, and here's some tuba.
Prost.
Let's go, Blues! Those are always the great tuba riffs.